Okay, let's move to the next part, the main riff. As always, especially for the songs where you're playing down here on the neck, you want to make sure your intonation is right. So there's an E. Sounding good? Sounds good. Pretty close. So we're going to go through this main riff. All right. Very basic. I've covered this in other videos, but let's just do it in HD. Real straightforward. You're going to put your little finger here is going to be a little slight bar, meaning when I do a bar, I like to roll on my edge of my finger right there, just a little bit. How do I show this? You know, if this is the flat, I like to play just right over here. I like to put the bar on this side of the finger, not right down the middle. I like to put some pressure on the edge, so to speak, right there. So you can put your finger down like that, and then just roll it over just a little bit, okay? So you can get that pressure. I just find that that's, instead of flat, is a little bit, mushy, so to speak. But if when you turn it, you can get a little more of your bone in there, and it's a little firmer. So that's, you want to put on the B and the E string on the 10th fret. And then we're going to take, we're going to put these, I like to keep these fingers down on the G string on the 12th and the 11th, because we're going to use both those notes. So I put this down the G on the 12th, and put this on the ring finger, and then the middle finger here on the 11th on the G. Okay, and it's going to be 6 notes. You're going to hit the E string, B string, and then the G string twice. You're going to lift this after for the fourth note, and then lift. Okay, so lift, and then come down again, and then hit the B string. It's that straightforward. That's all it is, okay? Play it here like that. And I think I'm doing, let's see if I can figure out the up and down. I just do it naturally. You do what's comfortable for you down here on the right hand. It looks like I start with an upstroke, 2 upstrokes. So I do 2 upstrokes and a downstroke. So, see that? So I went up, up, down. And then I lifted this finger, and then I went up on the G. That's just the way my comfort level. So I went up, up, down, and then up, and then down, and then I think I go up on the B. I'm going to do this slow, and I'm going to accentuate this direction so you can see it, exactly what I'm doing. I've got it in the screen here so you can see the right hand and the left hand. Nice and slow. Up, upstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke. A little faster. There, that's it. The basic riff, you got the right hand, you got the left hand working together, and you're playing the song. Practice that nice and slow. What I did up there. Okay. Got that? That's the main riff. Now, turn on a dotted 8th note delay with that. Now remember, you're playing 8th notes at a tempo of quarter note beats of 127 beats per minute. 127 beats per minute is 127 quarter notes per minute. 4 quarter notes in a measure. 8 eighth notes in a measure. These are 8th notes. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. A 1 and a 2 and an and is 4 8th notes. So we're going to play 8th notes here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 1. Now, important fact to note here. A lot of rock and roll songs are played in a lot of songs in general are played in 4/4 time. What does 4/4 time mean? You'll see in music, if you see a piece of music, written music, you'll see in the staff on the left side there's a couple numbers, and you'll see 4/4, for example. What that means is there are 4 quarter note beats in each measure. And so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And each measure is grouped in those 4. So each note is a quarter note, and I forget the numerator denominator, but let's say the top is 4, so there's 4 quarter notes in a measure, and the bottom 4 is that each note is a quarter note. So you get 4 quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you listen to some of your favorite songs, just count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and being an eighth note, half of a quarter note, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And well, that time signature, it's called a time signature, that does not apply here because we're not doing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Notice it doesn't work. It doesn't seem to match up to the pattern. It doesn't match up to the syncopation of the beat, because what we're doing here is 6 notes. And there's a natural ending on that last B string pluck, okay? 1 and 2 and 3 and then it seems to roll right into the next one. 1 and 2 and 3 and. So in that case here, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and, or it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. So it's in pairs or groups of 3 or 6, however you want to look at it. So this is not, at the beginning of Streets, is not 4/4 time. And so I'm going to add a little bit of this detail so you have an understanding, because there is a tricky part in this song coming up where we do a transition strokes, and where what's actually happening is you're moving into a different time signature. You're moving from 4/4 time. You're moving from this time signature, which I'm going to call one of 2 different signatures. I'm not an expert in music theory. People are more than welcome to chime in and comment. I'm not claiming I'm right, but I'm just breaking it down the way I think about it. Since it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and, I'm thinking of it as 3 quarter note beats in a measure. So it's 3/4 time. Now, you can also look at this, and based on Larry Mullen Jr.'s drumming pattern, you could argue it's 6/4 time, meaning 2 pairs of these. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. So I've taken 6 quarter notes and put them in a measure and made it 6 notes, 6 quarter notes, so 6/4 in one measure. So if you were looking at the staff on the music sheet, you'd see a line and you'd see 6 of these notes, and then you'd see another line. Now, why would you say this is 6/4 time and not 3/4 time? Is there really a difference? There is no difference in the way you would hear the sound, because you're playing the same notes with the same accent, a little bit more of an accent on that E note. Accent. It's kind of that first accent, da 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 da. That's the syncopation of the beat, da 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 da. Whereas if it was 4/4 time, it'd be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Here it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and, or it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2. See, so it's a matter of where the emphasis is. Well, let's listen to the song for a moment, and this is where you could argue it's 6/4. I'm going to ask you to listen for the cymbal crash that Larry Mullen Jr. is hitting. So he's going to hit the cymbal crash on this note. Okay, so when we play 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, he's going to hit it on that 1, on this note. But he's not going to hit it every single time I play the riff. He's going to play it every 2 times. So he's going to hit it, I'm going to say the word hit when you're going to hear the cymbal crash from Larry Mullen Jr. It's hit and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and hit and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and hit. He's going to do hit the cymbal crash every other time you hit that note. So if you're playing with the backtrack or you're playing with a band, if your drummer is playing it the way Larry Mullen Jr. does, every time he hits that cymbal crash, you should be landing on this note. And every second one of those, the drummer will hit that crash, hit the cymbal. So you get crash, crash, crash. Okay, you're saying to me, I'm a crazy man, you gotta be crazy, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, let's listen to the beginning of the song and notice when the drums start, and you will hear that cymbal crash on this note every other time. Here it comes. Right there. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. So there you go. So I'm going to call this going forward 6/4 time because of what Larry is doing on the cymbal crash. It's just a theory of mine. I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to music theory, but hopefully this does provide a little bit of insight and clarity into what's happening at the beginning of the song. You're not playing in traditional 4/4 time. You're playing in 6/4. If you want to call it 3/4, that's fine too. All right. So now we've gone through that part of the song, and what's going to happen here is now this is a transition. There's two parts to the transition here to get from the 6/4 to the 4/4 time. And I'm going to play it, and part of it is going to be the next part that we're going to learn, which is this. So notice those were 3 notes. Let me show them to you first. And let me show you those 3 notes first, and then we're going to go to the transition and talk more about the timing. So what I played next is, your same pattern here, but we're going to go from the E string to the G to the B, 3 notes, okay? So and leave this down like we had before, and then go to the G, and then go to the B. That's it. And you play that 4 times. Both hands in here. Looks like I'm going up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now let's put that together with the first part that we learned on the riff, right? Okay, here we go. And then we're going to go into another second part, what I'm going to call the second part of the transition, which is some strumming. We'll go through that in a minute. But this is the main riff in 6/4 time. I'm calling it 6/4 anyway. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so you get that. Then you're still in 6/4 time here, but you're going to go into this part of the transition, which is now this is what's interesting, okay? And there's 4 of those, notice. 4 of those 3 pairs is 12 notes. How many notes are in this riff? 1 and 2 and 3 and there's 6 notes, right? In the first part. And then we played that twice to get 12 notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. Okay, that was 6 and, means 12 notes. That was, if you consider that one measure of 6/4 time, then this next part, there's 3 notes, 8th notes. There's 3 more, that's 6 8th notes. There's 9, there's 12. There's another measure of 6/4 time. Okay? And I'm just piecing this together because what I want to try to point out is my opinion on officially where this song is transitioning from 6/4 to 4/4. And it hasn't happened yet. Okay, so you've been in 6/4 time throughout these notes. Boom, right there, from that point on, you're going to be now 4/4 time. So let me see if I can articulate this by listening to the song. We've now covered the main riff. We've covered the first part of the transition into 4/4 time, but it's still in 6/4, but we're now headed. That's the sign that we're coming right into 4/4 now. So Larry Mellon Jr. does a couple things here with the cymbal crashes and the beats. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like this and say 4. And as soon as I do that, start counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You'll notice that Edge starts playing some strumming patterns, which we're going to go through in a minute. And he starts playing that, but the 4/4 has started, and then he'll go into a 4/4 time riff. So here, let's play that transition. Let me find it. Okay. There's 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. Okay, here we go. I'm going to point out the 4/4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. There you go. There you go. That is what's happening in this song. It's a transition from 6/4 to 4/4 time, and we're going to take you through the strumming pattern to get you through it. Let's play it one more time. And I will not talk this time, and I'll let you listen to it for yourself and count out when you hear the cymbal crashes. When that cymbal crash hits on the main riff, start counting at 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 in. And then when you hit this part, keep counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 in on this part. And after he does that four times, then start counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 in. Here it is again, and we're going to start. I'm not going to say anything this time. Just listen for the what I just described. So, right through here, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and then into 4/4. That's the simple thing that gets you into starts into the 4/4. I'll go through it in a minute, but essentially it's. And doing that strumming pattern is in 4/4 time. It's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So I think that is now the most thorough explanation of the transition of Where the Streets Have No Name on YouTube. I spent a lot of time studying it, really making sure I got this right so I could articulate to you, because I didn't want to just teach the notes. I thought I would throw in this little lesson about key signatures and timing. And that way, when you're playing this part of the riff and you're trying to get through that section, it's good to know where that change in tempo occurs, because it's going to make it easier for you to play the song. There you go. So I'm going to play this real quick. I'm going to play with the delay off with the Edge, and so you can see my strokes. watch the counts going from 6/4 to 4/4, and then we'll go through the details of the strumming. One more time. And there you go. So let's go through those strumming patterns next in the transition. Well, then we'll go into this very tricky right hand strumming pattern, which you have to play a long time and it gets rather tiring. But let's go through that next.